So Netflix, because apparently this is all that they do now, has come out with yet another remake of an old cartoon. And just like all the other recent remakes of old cartoons that they've come out with, they have put their own spin on them. Like how with Voltron they had the interesting idea to make it good at the beginning but bad at the end. And how with She-Ra they had the interesting idea to make the characters other than She-Ra interesting. The interesting spin in their new remake of Carmen Sandiego is that Carmen Sandiego is the good guy. And for those who don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised if you don't, because I don't know much about Carmen Sandiego myself, Carmen Sandiego is an old cartoon character. She was the antagonist of the cartoon. She was sort of a combination of the femme fatale and the gentleman thief archetypes, and she pulled off outlandish heists. That was her whole thing. There were a couple of game shows based on the character as well, where kids would have to come in and solve trivia questions to figure out where Carmen Sandiego was in either space or time, so that she could be captured and brought in and punished, but she always escaped, and they always had to do it again. It was a cute concept. I liked it a lot, what little of it I saw. But at the end of the day, my knowledge of the character is limited, and I wasn't jumping out of my seat or anything to see this new take. That said, I really like what I've seen of it so far. This is going to be Raiders of the Story Arc style review. I'm just going to talk about the first couple of episodes, which give us our introduction to the show and the character. And for the first time when I've done one of these, I haven't watched past that yet, so I don't know if the show improves or gets worse after that cutoff point, which is the end of, what was it, the second episode, I think. It's a multi-part story, becoming Carmen Sandiego. And I gotta say, I certainly hope the show stays at roughly the same quality, because these were some pretty good episodes. I don't think it was the strongest start. There were a few nitpicky things that kind of took me out of the story here and there, but overall, they were quite good. I enjoyed them, and I'm looking forward to sitting down sometime in the next couple weeks and watching some more episodes of this show. These couple of premiere episodes do a fantastic job right out the gate of setting everything up really effectively. We are immediately presented with a mystery. We know that the girl who will become Carmen Sandiego, she's called Black Sheep at this point early in the story, ended up on an island where there is a school for thieves, and she's being raised now by the faculty, particularly the, what was she, like the hand-to-hand combat instructor or something? I can't remember her name. She was this beefy woman. She was really cool. I liked her character a lot. And, like, her interactions with Black Sheep are not what you would expect. She's way more tender than you would expect looking at her. And I like characters like that who have that kind of nuance to them. Like Bismuth over on Steven Universe, for example. And Black Sheep doesn't know anything about her origins. She doesn't know who her parents were. All she knows is that she had with her when she was found a set of Russian nesting dolls. Doesn't know where they came from, but she has an attachment to them, obviously, because they are a connection to her past, whatever that past is. And you're not supposed to have any way to contact anyone off the island with you on the island, but she has gotten her hands on a cell phone, which she uses to talk to a good guy, white hat hacker, and they become friends as she hides the cell phone in the nesting dolls, which is a clever idea. They're her personal possessions, and everyone there respects her, at least to varying degrees. They're not just going to go searching through them. And we get to see that because she was raised in this environment where they're teaching people to be thieves, she likewise wants to enroll in this school and become a thief. And she thinks, at least at this point, that thievery is just a game, that they do this to one-up people and show off their skills, and that's it. And she's exactly the kind of person who'd be interested in that kind of thing. She likes pranking people, she likes outsmarting people, she likes outmaneuvering people. She's very witty and capable, and she likes to show that. And we get a lot of neat scenes of her bonding with her classmates and one-upping them, even forming something of a best friend / possible romantic interest bond with one of the guys in her class. But then she fails. She's not accepted as one of the 40 thieves. And as a result, she puts herself in a situation where she learns that things are a lot more serious than she thought. They will kill people to get what they want if they have to, and that's just not something that she would do, personally. And the veil is kind of pulled out from in front of her eyes, and she realizes that this organization, which is literally called V.I.L.E, by the way, that's the name of the school, is evil. And of course they are, but I don't blame her. She was raised in this environment. It's kind of like how sometimes you don't realize how crappy your parents were until you're grown up and have had other mentor relationships. You know what I mean? It's not unreasonable that she wouldn't have picked up on this sooner. And honestly, I thought it was handled really well. I thought that reveal, that revelation, that character revelation was handled really well. Because throughout all of this, the instructors at the school have also been profiling these people and determining, psychologically speaking, whether or not they would be down with all of this. Which does raise the question why they would have let Black Sheep continue in the first place, and why it seemed that only one of them didn't intend to let her graduate. Maybe they themselves are also biased and thought maybe that they could trust her more than they actually could because she's effectively their child. If that's the direction they're going with it, that's very interesting. Just like it's interesting that these people care about her as their child, even though they're objectively bad people. The whole dynamic there is super interesting, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And we are told all of this in flashback form immediately after we hear some exposition from some Interpol agents about how effective Carmen Sandiego is as a thief, and which is bookended at the end by those Interpol agents realizing that she only steals from one company, which seems to be a shell company for thieves, which lines up perfectly with the end of her flashback where she decides to become a thief, use all of the skills that V.I.L.E taught her, and undermine their operations wherever she can. And not just because they would harm people either, that's obviously a major factor, but also because they're stealing artifacts which belong in museums, which could be used to further human knowledge, things that shouldn't belong to any individual person or people. It's all very good, it's very solid, it's a super effective setup for what seems like it's going to be a series about a femme fatale, gentleman thief type character, just like the original Carmen Sandiego, who just happens not to be a villain this time around. And I liked all of that. I liked all of that a lot. There were some things in this, though, that I wouldn't say that I necessarily disliked them. I'm not sure if I liked them or not. They were kind of cringy, but funny cringy, if that makes sense. Like, I appreciate that the villain organization is literally called V.I.L.E, and they're this multinational organization of thieves, something that would definitely be picked up on by some government somewhere. I also love that V.I.L.E is an acronym, which literally has evil in it. It's all very Saturday morning cartoon villain kind of fare, which is great. I love stuff like that. I love cheesy stuff like that, but at the same time, it made me cringe a little, because the rest of the show, we're expected to take it very seriously, and we're expected to take these people seriously as well, and I just don't know that I'm going to be able to do that, because they're kind of silly. Their whole setup is kind of silly. But then, I also really like stuff like the little references we got here and there, like her calling them the 40 Thieves. Like, yeah, I just Googled it to make sure. It's from Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, an old Arabian folktale. That was a neat little reference that didn't need to be there, and makes this whole thing, like, super historical, I guess, or else they just name themselves after the group from that story. I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be. That's the point, and I'm interested to find out. It also looks like this show is going to travel the world a lot and dip its feet into other cultures a lot, which is always something that's nice to see in a cartoon for children. As is the fact that they're seemingly not going to shy away from talking about the fact that sometimes bad people kill other people in a show for kids. I know that's something that not everyone will agree is a good thing, but I think it is, just so long as they don't overdo it, obviously. There's a whole lot more in these first couple episodes that I didn't even touch on, a whole bunch of characters who were introduced that I didn't even mention, characters who I'm sure are going to be important later on. Relationships that are incredibly interesting to me and that I hope to see some sort of furthering or resolution to. It would, for example, be super interesting to me to get the backstories and histories of some of Carmen's classmates. I very much, for example, want to know what made them want to come to a school for thieves in the first place, as it might give some indication of whether or not they were pushed into it, whether or not some of them might be redeemed down the line. Things like that, things which hold my interest as a viewer over long stretches of time. And what's really interesting about this is this show is doing a remarkable job of holding my attention anyway, when this isn't even really my genre. Like, I'm a pretty big fan of the Robin Hood story, which this is kind of turning into a little bit, but the whole gentleman thief cat burglar thing isn't really my style. So I think the fact that I liked this as much as I did is testament to just how well handled it is, how well written it is, how well realized it is. So if you're someone who finds their tastes aligning with mine most of the time, you'll probably enjoy this. But if you're someone who likes that genre specifically, you'll really like this a lot. At least, I assume you will. As per usual, though, guys, what do you think of Carmen Sandiego so far, if you have seen any of it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.
Take you for a ride on a slow bus to China. Tell me where in the world is
Carmen Sandiego?
Steal their soul in South Korea, making money comes right on the